Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Foreground Forum after a long break. For everybody who's joining us for the first time, my name is Sonia Chaksi. I am the co founder and CEO of Match My Talent and also the festival director of Malhar. I believe a lot of you joining today are our favorite filmmakers from the Malhar community. So, heartiest welcome to all of you. I've been looking for an opportunity to connect with you one on one, and I guess today is one. And absolutely on a bang on topic, the technology that we have been mentioning, talking to all of us as something that we are very passionate about, we are growing more and more passionate about, and we hope that the benefits of the technology reach you as creators more than anybody amongst us needs to, right? And Malhar is that ground where we are bringing few changes from the last year just to imbibe the technology and let's look at what the future could potentially be. So, welcome once again. A couple of house rules before we get our guest in. So, all of you must be logging in from different mediums. Please just feel free to drop in your comment, and we will collect all the comments right here. And whatever is for our guest, it will be shared with him. In case we miss answering any of the questions, please be very sure we'll get back to you with your responses even after the show. So don't worry, but let's make it very participative and engaging. And all your questions are very, very welcome. So, with that, let me welcome our guest, Saurabh, right here on our screens. Hey,
Hey, what's up?
how are you?
All good, all good. Good to see you.
All good. Well, good to see you. Welcome. And I'm very, very privileged to actually host you, have a conversation with you here,
Thank you.
and,
Oh, thanks so much.
and see that all of our community will also benefit from, everything that I've been learning from you. So,
Right.
sharing with a larger network.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds fun. Sounds fun for sure.
Great. So, so why don't you just tell us more about your background, because I
Yeah.
don't think so most of us can find you or more information about you anywhere on the internet. I don't
Right.
know personally how you manage to keep yourself so secure, but but yeah, I mean, for all our participants, Saurabh has been in the blockchain space, in the crypto space since 2017. Most of us did not even hear about it back then, but he's been active, he's been trading, investing, he's a crypto OG. And he actually has been a mentor and a coach to a lot of key projects that we see in today. The more we get in, we understand that all of this is a very beautiful teamwork. None of the blockchain space really works, in isolation. It's all about communities. It's all about one and another. And so there are few people like Saurabh himself who are hiding, not really visible to the world, but doing magnificent work. But what is this magnificent work, and what does it mean to us as creators? So Saurabh, please help us, take us through your journey, who you are.
Sure. Uh, so broadly, I think as you said, my crypto journey started in 2017, and to be honest, I discovered crypto in around 2015, 16 odd. I just was always a tech nerd and wanted to learn stuff, but for I would say 2 years, I just didn't believe in what they were doing. Like for me, it was a big Ponzi scheme, trust deficit, like all the stuff. And then, as happens in life, in 2017, I was reading this article with Naval Ravikant and Shane Parrish, who runs a blog called Farnham Street. And, and, and in between, Naval kind of speaks about what blockchain can do. And sometimes it happens when you read like a couple of paragraphs and realize how wrong you were till that point of time. And then I was like, oh God, this could really be a very, very interesting thing, and this could fundamentally change how how people organize themselves, how we think about trust, how we think about money itself. And that's the point. I think I started to deep dive into this. 2017 was very early on. I think most of us who started that point were investors, traders, just like trying to grapple around. Uh, and did that for I would say a couple of years. Then I think around 2020 or really started to think that I was always reading about crypto, but started thinking that, hey, can I start helping other projects? Can I start enjoying myself doing this? And then that's where I kind of moved full time into advising, setting up, helping up project setup, stuff around that. And so that happened. And then I think 2021 was again, I kind of discovered NFTs initially, but again, didn't believe them. Like I couldn't, for my, couldn't fathom. I had no creative background, so I didn't understand what was happening here. And then again, by chance, I was subscribing to Zeneca, who is a big evangelist in NFT space, to his letter, and he just wrote a letter about generative art, and that again blew my mind. Like, oh wow, this is something I've never heard. And then from that point onwards, I was deeply into this NFT rabbit hole, and that's my NFT journey started. I think 2021. Have been collecting art for a fair bit of time, helping projects on NFTs. Yeah, and now pretty much full time into this, helping people get onto this side of the world. And yeah, it's a very exciting place to be.
Wow. Totally relate to you. A few months back, I was where you were few years
Right,
back.
right.
I mean, I wouldn't say non-believer, honestly, but I think for me, it all just happened very sweet soon.
Yeah,
From just getting to know about it to just saying that, okay, I don't have time to figure this out. Looks good, but I can't get into something new. To
yeah,
boom, here we are.
yeah, yeah. Totally. You're big doing your tickets on NFTs, so pretty insane,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, from having a conversation to let's see if that's possible to
yeah.
now the Malhar festival tickets are out and they are an NFT already. So
Right.
good stuff.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
So since our audience by and large is creators,
yeah,
people who are in creative spaces, whether filmmakers or performing artists,
yeah,
right? And my question is that how did crypto become so much for creators? Like
yeah,
what happened that is just seeming to be like so inclined towards creators as a technology? What
yeah.
went wrong here?
This is very interesting. So actually, if you look at slightly back in history, I think the first NFT projects came in, I think 2018 with CryptoKitties, and CryptoPunks came in at nearby that time. But I think nobody really gave attention to NFTs. Like people were not really able to think around what's happening there. And I think 2020, the mainstream adoption of crypto happened with what we call as decentralized finance, where suddenly people could deposit money and borrow against crypto. People could exchange cryptos without doing KYC. They could just go into exchanges and earn interest on these products, invest in these products. So I think a lot of widespread adoption in 2020 was about DeFi. Uh, and then I think 2021, early, I would say March, April, I think NFTs started to come back because what, and that's the beautiful part about the whole crypto journey is that every 4 or 5 months we discover a case, a unique use case which was not thought through earlier, and that's the beautiful part. So I think what happened was in around 2021 March, people suddenly started to realize, hey, that uh, NFTs could be a very interesting way to kind of prove ownership of what you own, and also then if someone buys these NFTs, not only do they get the money, but they also can have perpetual royalty streams associated with that.
Hmm.
So for example, you kind of make an art piece, and I buy it for, let's say, $100, and when I resell them, the artists were able to actually put a value saying that any resale they will get a 10% commission on that, and
Right.
that could directly come into their wallets. So they didn't have any intermediaries to figure out. They didn't have anything to figure out. It was just
Yeah.
automatic. And so those two things, I think the economic incentives started to become clearer to users, to creators, and the
Mm-hmm.
fact that they could also have this ownership right there, which was proven. Like if you put an art piece there and it is on blockchain, then if someone creates another replica, it is always going to be second. Like
Mm.
simply because your blocks, you have put the first timestamp out there, so it's always going to be your work forever. Uh, so those two things, I think, suddenly made people click that, aha, this is a very interesting way to kind of look at things. And so those two things, I would say, kind of ushered in a lot of initial, I would say, digital artists like Xcopy, people whom we all know. Uh, and I think they started to come in saying that this is a very interesting way to kind of reach out. And then they started, because the ownership was proven and you had various royalty structures built, I think suddenly you had a lot of secondary market emerge. So art in a traditional world, the secondary sales are not as much as primary sales. So it's
Yeah.
pretty much negligible, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at OpenSea today or any other platform, the artists realized that not only they had $100 worth of primary sales, but the secondary sales often were much higher than the primary sale itself. So,
Right.
and that I think just made a flywheel that bigger artists started to come in. They started to sell more, which again inspired other artists to come in,
Mm.
and this flywheel started to run. And yeah, I think, and then I think the whole community started to play around. Like people suddenly started to realize that. Uh, that finance, DeFi or decentralized finance is always a good problem solver, but it
Mm.
does not attract mass audience. Like finance generally, we know, is not intuitive to most of us, right?
Yeah.
But NFTs could be something which are, I would say, the entry door for a lot of people in crypto. And that's why
Yes.
you suddenly saw that the wave was that art came in. Then you suddenly had these PFP projects, this meta theme projects where people just wanted to be known to each other in a close community, close group, and have certain meme culture started to emerge. So people could actually make a meme and sell it as an NFT, and people who had similar, I would say, creative mind or thought like everyone said that, oh, I enjoy these kind of memes. They could come together and spend a lot of time with each other just chatting. So and that I think then kind of flywheel this whole thing that art, then PFP, then generative art. Then I think just the moment kept on increasing and people started figuring out more and more use cases. And today I think, yeah, pretty much NFT is the entry door for. I mean, I'm not going to the technical side because
Sure.
there was enough technical advancements also on why this happened. But generally, that was the journey. I think these two things, the provenance and the fact that you could actually have revenue streams mapped and
Mm.
in secondary sales, I think suddenly opened a lot of doors for people to innovate and think through.
True. Royalty and content ownership have been the pain point of creators
Yeah,
forever, right, across
yeah,
the globe.
yeah,
You can be whoever you want to be, but you cannot control the royalties. You cannot create your own ownership structure. You can do just so much more for yourself, and that's about it. And that's like whoever has been able to manage it is such a small percentage that
yeah,
we'd rather not call it a structure.
yeah,
So yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I always say that even though we had the breakthrough with YouTube coming in and with Vimeo coming in and everybody, but they are built for brands. They're built
yeah,
for advertisers. They're not really built for creators.
yeah,
So creators create whatever we see there, but
yeah,
it's very rare that they get anything back
yeah,
apart from, of course, having a browser to showcase, right?
yeah, yeah,
But that is like so great. I mean, thanks for sharing. I mean, I was also wondering that which Masiha came on this earth and just started thinking about artists and created like such a deep, elaborate technology,
right,
which seems to be like, of course, there are DeFi and there are other industries which are also coming in beautifully, but time and again, 10 times a day, when you talk crypto, when you look at crypto, the
yeah,
success case just fly out for artists, and like,
yeah,
wow,
totally, totally.
they finally want it.
No, I think artists were always. I think the other thing which is very interesting in this journey, and I think what Flywheel came in was uh, that artists suddenly had access to collectors who never existed. Like for me, I till to last year 2020, I never collected anything because to be honest, I would always look at these people on Instagram with blue ticks, photographers and artists in blue tick, and I could say that there's no way I could reach out to them and buy some of their work. Like
Mhm.
even if I have, let's say, the capital to buy, I could just reach out to them.
Mm.
And but in NFT space, you could just reach out to them. And so what happened was like on one side you had artists coming in who were kind of building this new stuff, and on the other side you had this completely new breed of collectors
Hmm.
who always had appreciated art but had no way to collect. They
Yeah.
just came in masses, and I think that's what has kind of, so it was the flywheel on both sides. You have art
True.
creators and you have collectors, both sides.
True. Very beautiful said, because it's the new type of collectors who came, and that's where
Yeah,
the environment also changed. The
yeah,
expectation also changed.
absolutely, absolutely,
Ab-
absolutely.
Beautiful. So what are some of the key principles of the technology that, let's say, a creator who's new to understanding blockchain, crypto
Yeah,
should understand or take back as
sure.
principles?
Sure. So there are two, three, I would say, broad things. One, and again, this is something which is evolving. So in crypto, there is nothing which is cast in stone. I think we keep on learning. So first is that whatever art you create, where do you store it? Like now
Hmm.
you have two few options to store. Like you can store in Dropbox, you can store it in Amazon server, or you could store in what we call as IPFS or RV, which are decentralized storages. So
Right.
essentially, that means is that if Dropbox today bans you, or if Amazon shuts down their server, your
Hmm.
art is forever lost.
Right.
I mean, uh, that's
It's
that.
gone. Yeah.
But 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 if you are on decentralized storage like an RV or IPFS, and there are a few others like that, your art is permanent because it's on chain now. So I
Hmm.
think the first principle I would say is that whenever you're creating an art, I think you should always explore that how do I store it, this art piece on chain,
Hmm.
and you start from there. Then of course the second is how do you design most platforms, whether it's OpenSea or other platforms, and today you have tons of do-it-yourself platforms, uh, allow you to create smart contracts in very interesting manner.
Hmm.
So, so that's I think something which one needs to think through, like how much royalty you want to keep, how much royalty you want to keep on secondary sale. So, and there are various strategies which people use. Sometimes you would find creators uh, doing dropping a piece which is very low cost. So, let's say they would
Hmm.
drop it at $100, but the
Hmm.
secondary royalty would be, let's say, 20%, so that when there's secondary sale happen, there's a revenue stream associated with that. And the idea of that creativity is that because it's low priced, you kind of distribute it to more people around,
More people.
right? Yeah. So I think that's, so you have to think through on how your smart contract works. That's, I would say, the second part. And the third is, I think, uh, with all the excitement and everything there, I think so this is something which is for folks who are long haul. I think this is there's, as is with any new technology and new venue, there is tons and tons of noise. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of people coming in, and there are a lot of fly by night operators who just want to kind of just come there, hopefully get
Hmm.
a sale, and then they're out. I think as the system gets more and more mature, uh, you will automatically see that people who are long term oriented, who want to be in this part, who really enjoy this uh, process of doing this NFT and being in Web3 space, I think will is, I would say, a fundamental principle to have. If you look at most of the successful creators today, uh, they're not just creators, but they are always contributing to the space. They are speaking, they are helping
Yeah.
other artists. They're just constantly in this space because it's so much. It's almost like a passion for them. Like
Hmm.
they really have almost like a religious cause on how to expand art and how to expand this NFT ecosystem. So those three things, I think, ensure that
Yeah.
uh, your art is in a place which is always available. Second, ensure that the smart contract which you write essentially kind of is marries to the strategy or thought process which you have, and be for the long haul. Don't come here for, yeah, that's those two things I would say.
Perfect. So, and do you think that the reason that this whole community is so inclusive and so collaborative could also be because the framework itself allows so much more security? Like, I feel that outside of this blockchain space, why this doesn't really exist? Especially creative folks are not really so collaborative all the time, and I feel personally, working with a large community that we are, that the stakes are too higher all the time, and you have too much to lose, right? more than gaining. It's the same piecemeal that you're all working towards and all trying to get a pie off, right?
Yeah,
And so the insecurities of what you're creating, what are you getting influenced by, how is your work seen, whether you're generating revenue or not, it's all very fragile, right? So probably that is why people are not so coming together and really helping, but it's more about मैं मेरा देख लूं और फिर
yeah, sure,
बात का दुनिया का भला बाद में करेंगे kind of
right,
thing.
yeah,
But here in the crypto space, because the framework itself, like you said, I mean, when you store in a way that it's not going to go anywhere, when your name is permanently written on it, that it is not debatable, you know
right.
those are some of the strengths, and the smart contract allows you to control your journey. It actually allows you how you move. Pretty much that's what a human being wants for anything that they create. Do you think
Yeah,
that that's one of the reasons for people to be really so collaborative in the space?
for sure. I think that smart contract bit has, I think, was a complete game changer. I think
Mm,
you could have two artists come together, create something, and ensure that the royalty was always split in 50-50 for life.
mm,
There could
yeah.
not be any debate. Like, it's in smart contract. It's a code, so you can't. There cannot be any legal hassle. There cannot be your word versus my word. You
Mm,
agreed, you deployed a contract, and now it's there. So I think that just gave a lot of people a lot of, I would say, freedom to work with each other, chat with each other, and say that, hey, this is what we are building, uh, and this is how we can collaborate. And if this is eventually, if this leads to some revenue being generated, this is how we kind of split it across. And it's not like um, it's my word versus your word, or this code is
mm,
not seen. This code is seen by everyone. So it's not like I cannot claim that, hey, I gave Sonia 60% and I just gave 40%. People
mm,
can just go on the chain and check whether I said and I did this or not. So that I think was very important. And what that I think triggered was, because you had provenance and you had this smart contract. I think people suddenly started appreciating that. Their reputations are very critical, which is I think
mm,
the critical point in this whole space is that, and I keep telling to every single artist I meet that before you create, you have to build your reputation in this space. So when people trust you that, hey, this is a person who is here for long, who has the ethos of Web3 and wants to create and collaborate, then
right.
you kind of are, then you will get all your doors open. Uh, so I think reputation is critical, because if you do anything which is not really right, it's a matter of time when someone either will discover you on social or on
Yeah.
chain, and then pretty much you're done. So while there are enough scammers around, but I would still say that uh, every artist whom I know
Mm,
cares far more about their reputation in this space,
mm,
because and therefore they want to collaborate with right people, and then it just becomes better and better. Like, if you're
yeah.
caring about your reputation, then you want to. If someone is also doing something which is not correct, you kind of advise them to course correct, and then the things get better and more inclusive. So that's what is happening here as of now.
So does it help, or is it like important for the creators to also be technically sound to really work with this technology?
Not really, but having said that, I think. Uh, Technology is a so I would, the way I think through this NFT and especially the art movement is that, and so we chatted this earlier, that this is not a replica of digital art to blockchain. I think a lot of
Mm,
people get confused that, hey, NFT is that I was kind of building this image on my iPad and Procreate, and now I will just put it on blockchain and that's pretty much is done. I
yeah.
think that's a very narrow view of looking at how what is happening here today. I would say NFTs and art today is almost like a new renaissance movement which is happening. So you can potentially merge everything which is possible.
Mm,
Your art piece could have code, your art piece could have music, your art piece could have video, you could have collaborations with everyone, and all of these people contributing to make one piece, and provenance of each of that element is cleanly given out, and incomes or revenues are already cleanly given out. So I think uh, having code is not necessary, but it's a
mhm,
very powerful tool. So I think our creators don't need to, I would say, learn coding themselves, but they
mhm,
should always be knowing that, hey, this is what code can do, and can I collaborate with a coder to do this, or
mm,
can I? Can I work with someone who is doing some kind of art which involves coding or something like that? Can I come together with that person? That I would say is very interesting and beneficial about it. But otherwise, yeah, I think, do they need to code? Do they need to um, really understand deep tech? Not really. Most of the platforms today are getting more and more user friendly, creator friendly. It's relatively quite simple. And plus, if you're starting the journey, especially here in India, uh, just go on Twitter, say that I need help, and, and I'm an artist who's starting his or her journey in Web3. You'll just get tons and tons of it. Like people will actually just take you step by step on how everything will happen, and just no volunteer, no fees, no monetary charges. Just happens.
And we can trust that.
Yeah, pretty much. And you, I
Mm.
mean, so that's the best part. Like whenever you have doubt, you can just go back to social again, say that, hey, this is what I am thinking of doing. Do you think is right or wrong? Most people will reply back saying, hey, this makes sense. This does not make sense. So yeah,
Very nice. So, considering so many years that you've been around the space, and of course, literally, this whole space has just evolved and is in infancy right now, even,
right.
you know. So, help us with some of the most remarkable use cases that you have in mind. What are the kind of products and services that have blown your mind?
Sure. So so I will kind of skip through the DeFi part because I think that's I think much more technical and financial. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean we can. But there's tons and tons of innovation there which is
there.
happening.
Yeah.
Uh, but I think NFTs specifically on that part. Some of the really most interesting stuff is, for example, this whole generative art thing.
Hmm.
Uh, so you could have an artist create a program
Hmm.
which could create artworks inspired by Bauhaus, and they could be like 500 pieces, which all of them are fundamentally different. Like none of them are same, and everything is stored on chain. So
Hmm.
the whole code itself is on chain. So you don't need to store this art. You don't need to have anything. Whenever you open your browser, you click that piece, the code runs behind, and the piece is generated at that moment.
Hmm.
So that I think blew my mind, and this is a huge wave on NFTs. That's that way. Then I think
Oh.
the other interesting part was this whole collaboration thing. So if you go to a platform like Async Art,
Uh-huh.
um, so creators can create, let's say, a music piece,
Hmm.
which has typically music piece has, let's say, four layers: a guitar, a bass, let's say drums and stuff,
Yeah.
and uh, and then they can individually sell these NFTs out to different people, and
Oh.
then I can change one of the guitar tempos to create a completely new piece, which is proprietary to me. And
Oh.
if I have to change the whole piece, I have to buy those four things, and then I can create something completely new.
Brilliant.
Uh, so it's like, and you could create, and then you could, with each piece you can change the artwork of that piece, just insane amount of stuff. Uh, the third I think was the whole PFP thing, the BAYC, which is a brilliant example of. I mean, BAYC are more expensive, more reasonably expensive today.
What's
Uh,
be what's that?
uh, Board Ape Yacht Club, like the Board Apes, which
Right.
are, yeah. So I think the whole PFP piece, or PFP means profile pic NFTs. I think they are very interesting because, uh, let's say you buy a Board Ape, you
Hmm.
could actually be in a Discord with Snoop Dogg, Steph Curry, Jim Fallon, and actually chat with them. And if you're an NFT investor, you could actually go and party with them,
Hmm.
because you actually think like the same. You are part of that exclusive community, and you do stuff which is just exclusive to you. Like if you today go out in any of these NFT forums and you have a BAYC hoodie,
Hmm.
that's a major status symbol. So I think that another thing was blew my mind, that how our NFTs kind of brought uh, status to our digital lives.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
so before you could put your profile pic on Twitter or Insta, and nobody really cares, right?
Right.
But if you put a VAYC as a profile pic, or my Twitter pic, for example, Red Guy, I know people know that, hey, he is an OG in this space. That's why he
Hmm.
he or she knows about this, And if he has a BAYC, then he has an access to community, which is really the most exclusive community out there.
Mm.
So that again blew my mind that you could actually mobilize and socialize people on a photograph, um, with the kind of idea that, hey, this is what as a community think like, and globally
Mm.
5,000, 10,000 people could just come together in one single place. Um,
Wow.
that's the and yeah, and then there's so much stuff happening like sports. So yeah, there's a NFT called Cala Data,
Mm-hmm.
CALLADITA. So that's very interesting. So they essentially said that the guy himself is a director who has won or produced or directed movies. They have won movies in Cannes. So
Mm-hmm.
they said that, hey, we want to create like a 1 hour movie,
Mm.
and they said that we don't want to raise money the original way. So each they had 3 layers of NFTs,
Mm-hmm.
and and the base layer NFT would mean that you contribute and then you get some rights or royalty rights to that. Second was a much higher NFTs where you could actually have your say in doing something on scripts. So you could
Uh-huh.
say that the the third was even higher where you could actually be on the shoot. You could actually
Yeah.
be in one of the frames also, one of the
Wow.
shoots. And they raised complete the whole capital through that. I think they raised
Mm.
$2 million just doing that. And they are actually now producing, and the whole community is rallying behind them where to shoot, how to shoot. It's pretty interesting. Like there is no traditional requirement of a these production houses to produce that. It's just common people like you and me who believed in this director's vision, believed in
Mm.
the story, and thought that, yeah, this could be a good, interesting way to participate and enjoy. And they are creating a movie like that. So there, yeah, similarly on music, there's sounds dot. I can just keep going on and on. Like
Yeah,
uh,
sure.
on sound dot xyz, xyz, you have these musicians who started kind of creating their NFTs of music pieces.
Uh-huh.
Uh, on Spotify, they would take years to earn that, and here they just drop 25 pieces editions of their work, which ensures that whenever this music piece is used anywhere in metaverse, they
Mm-hmm.
have owners have a royalty income. So and
Wow.
so those guys are suddenly this whole. So if you look, it's very interesting. If you go and on Spotify, on sound.xyz, and you look at this artist, and you say that the number of times his music or her music has been listened on Spotify is like 10,000 times in 3 years, 2 years, really
Wow.
really low.
Yeah.
And then when you go on to Spotify, these guys drop NFTs, it sells in less than a minute, and they.
Less than a minute?
Yeah, I think minute is even larger. Like it's even faster than that. And people are so passionate about their music. It's not. And so I think what people creators have figured out is that to. And I'm sorry that I'm talking about money, but I think that's a critical component to realize is they realize that you don't need to find well, let's say if you have a platform like Spotify, for a
Mm-hmm.
creator to make money, they have to go and reach to, I would say, at least a million people to have some kind of substantial revenue, right?
True.
Whereas if
Yeah.
you go in NFT space, you just need to reach out to 25, 30 people who really love your music and willing to buy.
Mm.
That's it. And you will earn much more than Spotify pretty much for perpetuity. So that I think was fundamentally changed how people perceive. Like they don't have to create thousands and millions of fans. That will happen organically. But for them to kind of find their art, they just need to figure out those 30 people, 25 people, or 100 people who really enjoy collecting their piece and are with them in their journey. And then you have creators creating multiple things like
Mm.
they. So we have this pool, then they'll do these meetups in various cities. They travel. So like a lot of photographers today, I collect a fair bit of photography.
Mm-hmm.
So they say that, hey, when you are in Iceland, we will host you, or they are doing a trip which is all their collectors in, let's say, in one place where in
Uh-huh.
Tuscany, all of us can fly down and all the collectors are there and they were hosting us there. Super fun. Like where could you get these
Experience
experiences?
this. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think so. Creators are just expanding their horizon completely.
Just to come to think of it, that it's all real. And coming from you, of course, I mean, you having experienced them, it's real. It's not, it's,
Yeah.
a lot of times when I hear such stories, it's more often like when I read them, I personally also doubt what I'm reading. You
Yeah.
know, we
No, I know.
you know
I
what
know.
I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, because we know how things are written, we know how SEOs are happening,
Yeah.
what gets the content up. So even if somebody is really genuinely written,
Yeah.
but the human mind says, I'm not sure whether this information in itself is correct or not.
Yeah.
So it's very real to hear from you, because of course you have nothing, nothing, no interest in personal interest in any of these examples that you're giving. It's just something that you've seen around.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's just like the present wave, which is there. I'm not sure if you guys are following. There's Goblin and couple of stuffs which are essentially saying that, hey, we will just do free drops. Like these are not charged. Like you don't have to pay anything. These are just
Mm,
free,
mm,
free drops, and what we call a CCO. So which means anyone can use this image for any purpose. Just
mm,
that when they use an image, there's a royalty associated, or when you use that smart contract to build something on top of it, which is what
mm,
we call derivatives.
mm-hmm,
So the let's say I have a image of a monkey, for example. There's
mm,
a project called M First, which is about a monkey typing something like that, right? Uh,
yeah.
and that is in a smart contract. Like now, today, I want to build a derivative on top of it. I
Mm-hmm.
can just create a derivative using that smart contract, change some things in the images, and whenever this sale happens, the base drop, which was free, always gets some income. So
Ah,
so people have suddenly exploded that, hey, you don't necessarily need to always sell your creativity. You just need to
right.
build a large community, and then the community works. And like it's like get 5,000 people in a room who are
Mm,
passionate about same thing, and more often than not, you will create something which is very interesting.
very interesting. This, from a creator point of view, we are often very possessive about what we create, right?
Yeah,
But what you're saying is taking another level, where we're saying that, yeah, I created something, but I'm opening it out to probably the biggest strangers that I would have
yeah,
never ever met. And I'm not just opening it out to them, but I'm actually allowing them to make changes to it.
yeah, yeah,
That's huge. That's
yeah,
like, I mean, I have known artists who wouldn't even let their photograph frames be picked up by anybody else
yeah,
to feel so possessive about that. And now the person is going to come and put another stroke on it, change the colors, modify it to whatever their visualization in, and essentially create a whole new art out of that. And the primary artist is okay about that.
yeah, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's not like people keep confusing that we. I mean, most of us do a lot of stuff in digital world, so it's not about just putting that digital work on chain. It
Yeah.
is way beyond that. It's about thinking in a much more broader sense that how and why this is happening and what new can we create. I think this is a time for creating something completely new, and that's what gets valued, honestly.
So great. So that's like, I mean, in reference to all the Malhar filmmakers, who have probably done this for the first time, probably not even knowing what it means, but just trusting us when we said that something is coming up, right? Now, they did not make a film for blockchain. They made a film for the story that they really just wanted to say.
Yeah,
Whichever way they have been sort of composing it together is exactly how they've done it, right? Now, at the moment, what we are doing is that this film is in Malhar, and the NFTs are the tickets, which allows this community, the people who are more inhabited in the crypto world, to access these films. These are clearly like two different types of communities developing
yeah,
parallelly while we live. So it just gives people that access. And also, because it's an NFT, there is a faith there, because there's a word that we are giving it out with that NFT, that these are the
yeah,
promises, these are the utilities that come with that. and
yeah,
and which is why somebody would like to probably buy the NFT ticket, right? But but here onwards, for the next film that all of these Malha filmmakers do, what is it that they need to ponder over, for their process of making the film, become more adaptable, become more suitable for the crypto community? Like you're saying, it's not necessarily just taking it up and putting it out there, right?
yeah, yeah. So I would say fundamentally that creativity has to be changed. I think that's pretty much there. I think I would say it's a blank slate, and so I'm top of the bat. For example, you could say that, hey, this is the movie which we created now,
Hmm.
and these are the NFT holders. Um, can the next script which is there be created with the community? Or
Hmm.
you could say that let's say we, instead of next movie could be a 15-minute series or 15-minute movie with the
Hmm.
end which could go in three directions, and whatever community votes it move take that in that direction. So you
Hmm.
could say yes, no, maybe, and if committee says yes, this is the right way, then the director kind of. So you are building with the community constantly. It's not like you build once and you are just off. Then the other part is that you have you how do you kind of, apart from the movie, how do you create an ecosystem around that, like art pieces, music, all those could be individual NFTs which could be sold separately, which could be enjoyed by audiences separately.
Hmm.
So you just can think in many ways. Um, um, yeah, I mean those are a few ideas, but I think as I think you get more immersed in this, I think more and more opportunities will emerge out in the creative process itself. You could potentially go out and collaborate with anyone in the world. So you don't necessarily say that, hey, this is a version which is being here. Can
Hmm.
the same Japanese version be shot in Japan in the same movie, and we could have rights on that? So, and
Hmm.
simultaneously, you could have one movie being, and this is one single community doing all of this. So I think, yeah, I mean, there are many ways. I don't think you need to necessarily change the art itself, the process
Hmm.
of creation itself, but you can do very interesting combinations in within that.
So what you're saying is that so far a creator has been creating art,
Yeah,
and that art is what they sort of put it out in the market, right?
yeah, yeah,
That particular film, that particular music, that particular painting, that particular comedy,
yeah,
or whatever is their art is
yeah,
what is in the market.
yeah,
But now what we have the opportunity is to pack it up with more gifts for our investors, for our community, right? So it's not just about that particular film or that particular art, but it could be a dinner, with our community. It could be telling the backstory of how they created what they created. It could be sharing some of the footage that does not necessarily come into the film but is precious. It's very very it's top cool stuff, right? So it's that, or it's like getting into the merchandising, longing. So you were saying that all of this now is in the creator's hand, and they
yeah.
can pretty much leverage by all these utilities, and not just get stuck by, okay, this is my photograph, please buy it, or this is my film, please fund it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think one is the utility part, and the second is that suddenly you have, if you do this right, on day zero you have 5,000, 1,500, I don't know how many, but 100, 200 people, which is beyond your circle, strangers backing you. Like that's a
Hmm.
huge plus. Like tomorrow, I mean, I'm sure in all our journeys you get ups, down, good days and bad days,
Yeah.
and in those bad days when you have random strangers coming in and saying that we will figure out a solution if this is a problem, this is a, I think that's I think an unsaid benefit of building this together with a larger community. Like you can rally people on causes, you can rally people on various things, and build economic, like I think where I think why this is such a powerful movement is, before I think crypto and blockchain came in, a lot of these rallying had no economic incentives associated, and humans by
Hmm.
definition need an economic incentive or some other incentive to kind of work together. I
Yeah.
think what crypto did was that it it bought economic incentives. So you could have 100
Hmm.
people rallying with you, knowing that if we do this well, there's a potential economic benefit.
Hmm.
And beyond that, the utility. So now it's much better to think through that. So you could just create much larger things.
Yeah, so filling many gaps at the same time.
Yeah,
It's about, why would I do what you want me to do? Yeah, okay. I mean, A, you would do it for the love of it. B, you would do
yeah,
it because there is a vested interest. Take it whichever way, but it's
yeah,
the like-minded people coming together and
absolutely.
supporting each other,
Absolutely.
right?
And, and then you can keep on doing. It's not just one time. Like you create something
Hmm.
which people enjoy, and then you can create another one. Then you can collaborate with another one. So it's not just one point of time event. Like as you build
Yeah.
your own community, as you build your own fans, as you build your own ecosystem, you could have creators coming together and say, this is a decentralized DAO, what we call as decentralized organization, and we
Mm-hmm.
become a studio which says that, hey, we will produce a movie.
Mm.
Only these NFT holders can see them. Only these are the virtual places, or only these NFT tickets, like what you guys are doing. These are the
Yeah.
only tickets where, and this is the only theater in which this gets screened, and you can build a whole exclusive experience for without eliminating everyone in between. You could suggest that this is me, this is my community, and this is an exclusive experience for them. And that also. So I mean, you can create in many ways.
But Saurabh, I mean, creators have a challenge that they're not so good at marketing, most of them. They rather be in the den and create what comes to their heart, right?
Yeah,
But putting it out there, marketing, raising funds for it, selling it once it's done, it's not something that creators really enjoy. But
yeah,
from what I have been understanding and what you're reiterating, looks like the creator has to be at the heart of this entire process you know so I mean, it sounds
yeah.
like it's going to make life more difficult.
So the way I say is that, and which was my, I think the first principle I said, that the third principle was that if you don't really want to enjoy this space is not really for this, for
Hmm.
most of the year. So I think even before you do your first NFT thing, you just need to immerse yourself into this and really start enjoying this. So I think most of the creators don't do marketing. They are so
Yeah.
passionate about this space. They can, and for me, example, I can spend 20 hours a day just being in this space. And I know most of folks around me do this. It's not
Hmm.
because that we have economic incentives. Yeah, they are there, but just that we just enjoy doing this.
Yeah.
So I think that is a litmus test. So
Yeah.
once you have a creator, I would say even before you think about doing some NFT or thinking about this process, I would say just go into this process, go into Twitter, enjoy the spaces, enjoy the art, see if you vibe with that or not. And
Hmm.
you will hear this word often, vibe, in crypto space, but I think that's very critical. That do you really enjoy this vibe of this space or not? There are challenges, there are painful things. A lot of the community is US and Australia based, which means if you are an Indian creator or in subcontinent creator, you will have late nights. Your work life completely changes out. So there are
Yeah.
a lot of things which happen. Um, but I think that's the first part. If you really enjoy the immersion,
Hmm.
then I think marketing actually it's not even marketing. Then the
Talking about
enjoyment
it.
is, yeah, and you're just enjoying it, and you're just
Yeah.
connecting people, and you're just so happy to speak to so many creators and collectors that you're just doing that. So I know, and
That's
I
a
know of,
brilliant point.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know of enough people who have done that. So I can
Hmm.
say it. So to the contrary, that if you do marketing, you are pretty sure that is in crypto maze you will not work. Like
Hmm.
anytime we see a project which is promoted or if there is an ad, you can pretty much be sure that that's done.
Leave.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
much
true. I
beyond that.
mean, when we market it, it's of course, it adds up a layer of pushing,
Yeah,
not really creating believers, but pushing it out there, making so much noise that you end up thinking that because it's so much out there, it must be true. But we all have been victims of it in one way or the other to really know, which is where, like I said, the mistrust settles in, that we see so many things, but we don't really believe it. But that's where the marketing minds and the marketing mullahs have been getting spent all this time. So
yeah,
valid point. It is, when you're enjoying it, you're not really selling. You're
yeah.
not forcefully selling it.
Yeah, and I will go back to one. You're not looking for millions of people to kind of do this. You're
Hmm.
just looking for those 1,000, 5,000, 200. Like Chris Dixon from A16Z, which is one of the largest venture funds in crypto, and Chris leads that practice. Has a
Hmm.
very, beautiful article called that in crypto or in Web3, you need to get your first 1,000 fans.
Hmm.
And if you have 1,000 fans, you are kind of sorted because
Hmm.
they will ensure that the amplification and when you do something next time around, they will always be there. Because typically editions on an artist does 10 pieces, 50 pieces, 100 pieces, and imagine you have 1,000 fans waiting for those 10, 20 pieces. It just goes through. It
you,
is
you
never is
you're
ready.
always in a pre-sale.
You're
You're
always
always
in.
sold out while you're just conceptualizing, probably.
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much.
Beautiful.
So I think so. As long as you immerse with yourself, you will start figuring out, hey, this is the collector I want to work with. These are the kind of
Hmm.
audiences I want to enjoy myself with. And once you discover that, then it's a very nice, seamless process, I would say. But that path is a tough one. Someone has to spend time doing this, learning this. But yeah, I would say that's the entry
That's the
path to, yeah.
path.
And I think a lot of people will not, to be honest, will not enjoy this or not
Mm.
go through this. But it's
Mm.
okay. I mean, it's not that NFTs are the only place to create art. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
sure there are. I mean, there's a equally large and opportunity there. But if you
sure.
want to be in this path, then I think there's a way to do it, and those people who do it will can become really successful.
Bang on. So clearly, it's like just because it's trending and just because it seems so promising doesn't mean that it's for everybody. It doesn't fit everybody. So I mean,
Yeah,
it really is like if we are liking the way it works, enjoy.
yeah,
Otherwise it's okay. I mean, art exists in other forms and market exists in
absolutely,
other forms as well.
absolutely.
But I mean, aren't there already too many NFTs? Aren't there like, isn't it already too crowded? Like wherever I see, it's like NFT, 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 NFT. I mean, so what we're talking about is that NFT being a very fundamentally life changing theory and practice, right? But on the other side, people have created so much that it's already sitting out there in the market,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and a lot of it is not even selling. If
yeah,
I look at
yeah,
it as an observer.
yeah.
So, do we have scope for making more, and where are the buyers?
So I think it again goes back to my initial point. I think a lot of people think NFT is about just creating digital art and putting on chain. I think,
Mm,
and you will see, I would say 90% of the work which is there is just
mhm,
that, and therefore it does not sell. I think, but the 10% which sells,
mm,
or where they actually are immersed in the system, so they have their own native community, and then they create for not a broad audience, they create for this narrow specific audience, which
mm.
both on both sides enjoy. Like when I collect
Wow.
pretty much, uh, pretty much with every single artist whom I have collected, I have a personal rapport. We chat constantly. Like my process of collection generally is, I would just DM that artist that, hey, this is a very interesting piece. What are you thinking about? Why did you create this? What's your long term play? And then we chat for days before I kind of go ahead. And this is pretty much true for all collectors.
Oh.
Um, so it's not like that these are very quick decisions. I think most
Mm,
people, and it's a discovery process for artists also. So I think
mm,
there's always a lot of work there, which will
mm.
not sell because access is open to everyone. There's no one who can stop you from minting on OpenSea or stuff.
Yeah.
But your success is also a function of how well you find your audience, how deeply immersed, what new innovation can you think through in this space.
Mm.
Um, so that's that. And if you do that, then of course, then there's no limits. You can pretty much do anything.
So, in a way, a creator or an artist starts on their own, reaches out to strangers with with a piece of art that they would have created, or a question or two, right? At this point of time, they know nothing. But the kind of responses that come to them as help or as investment is building that, those few people out of the 31,000 people that you said, right? And
Yeah,
gradually, when you have like a thicker community, then it's a relationship between the creator and the community, and you're serving each other.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
creating for the community is making sure that you're healthy, you're taken care of, your resources are met, and it just goes walking hand in hand.
Yeah, pretty
Sounds like
much.
a fairy tale.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, it's not that easy for sure.
Hmm.
It like the steps are exactly the same. What you said, pretty much exactly what happens. Just that it requires enough amount of. I would keep saying this that it requires enough amount of immersion and
Hmm.
anyone who's like this is my mantra. I know very few people have been able to do this, but if you are an artist or creator who wants to start this journey, for 15 days, you should be on Twitter or Discord or YouTube about NFT 16 hours a day.
Hmm.
16 hours a day, 15 days. I think I haven't seen most people do it. 16 hours looks very easy, but
Yeah.
it's just incredibly hard to. I mean, then you're immersed in the system. Then you have no
Hmm.
Instagram, there's nothing. You just are so narrowly focused on learning about something,
Hmm.
which is what pretty much every success mantra is, that you have to be
Yeah.
very narrow, learn deeply, and if you in that process start enjoying it, then your doors open automatically. You pretty much it happens automatically. You suddenly
Or
will,
you know that you're exhausted and you're not enjoying it, and
yeah, you're
that's
not,
not you.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's not you, and maybe you can come back later, or I
Mm.
mean, yeah, as the ecosystem evolves, there's something else which will come up, but yeah, so just don't get into this rush of, hey, everyone is creating an NFT, let me also create an NFT and go out there.
Yeah.
It usually will not sell, and then you will get disheartened. So I
Mm.
think immerse yourself, enjoy the system, enjoy the vibe, get a global audience, get global. Like you, this is the only way you could access large amount of global communities without, like, there's no other way you could do this, right?
Mm.
People who kind of enjoy the same vibes, and just and figure out something with them.
Do you remember at this point any examples of some communities that you've seen building in front of you, like probably like a single person just showed up and eventually made like a tiny nice community? Do you remember any such people and stories and communities?
Pretty much every single large artist today in crypto
Mm.
has done it. X copy, Park,
Mm.
uh, Beeple, Ferocious is an 18-year-old kid. So Ferocious is a very interesting journey. I personally don't really enjoy his art, but it's a very interesting story. He's
Mm-hmm.
a 16-year-old kid who had a very troubled childhood.
Mm.
He was abused. His parents used to, like, very sad story, but he found his refuge in art, and he
Mm.
started creating art which reflected his sense of childhood and whatever he was experiencing. And then he created, just started putting it out, and people just rallied behind him, and he created a community. And for today, he's one of the largest, probably one of the top four, top five artists in NFT space. And he created a whole massive community behind which, and Fevo is like, everyone loves Fevo. Like the kind of energy that this kid has is just insane. Like, so pretty much every single artist there has
Mm.
done this. Like they have just immersed themselves and then figure out how to enjoy this community, how to build in them. It's a very interesting process.
By any chance, have you come across anybody from India in any form of art?
Uh, Photography, I know. I have collected from few people, so I
Okay.
know they are really very good. There's a guy called, he's anonymous, called Archangel. He's into, I would say, slightly dark, dark side creations, like a lot of skull, a lot of dark creations. He's brilliant. So that
Hmm.
he's from India. Then of course there's Amrit Pal, who became very popular with those toy faces, very unique
Yeah.
faces. And yes, like Amrit Pal is a good example. Very narrow
Mm.
audience. Just said that, hey, I don't want to do too many stuff. I just want to make these cute toy faces which represent various things and various points, and just kind of created a community and vibe around that.
Mm.
There's Trupti, which whom I have again collected, which is a dot artist and does really beautiful, intricate work. So there are lots of artists there. I think, but
Mm.
I think Indian artists also trying to figure out. So one of the observations which I have had is creators from India, especially, are not the most outgoing, and I think
Mm.
they usually need someone else to tell them that this is good, which is
Mm.
not right.
Mm.
Uh, but and which is very different from what I see from, let's say, US or Western world. So
Yeah.
I think artists are getting better around that, and as they
Yeah.
get more and more confident that, hey, this is what can happen. I think, yeah, I haven't though seen an
True.
artist create a large community around them, which is
Mm.
still, I think, missing. But I think it's a matter of time. Someone will create that for sure.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, absolutely, artists are dependent on Indian artists, especially are dependent on the feedback, on a real live audience saying, "Woohoo! You got great stuff going." That's been the culture so far. But I guess just the kind of value that's inbuilt into the system,
Yeah,
who would want to stay away from it? Because that's exactly what one has been asking for. That give me
yeah,
my ownership, give me my royalty. Let me have the privilege of calling it my work since I have worked on it. So since since this is allowed and this is built into the system, I'm sure it's going to catch up with all the Indian artists as much.
yeah, and,
Yeah.
and the ability to create your own audience, I think, global audience, which you never had access to. Like,
Mm,
if you're a creator, you would probably depend on an art gallery or Instagram feed to
yeah.
probably reach out to other folks. But if you do it right, and there is a method, and if you immerse yourself and you have the right, if you build those right dots, connect those right dots, you
Right.
can suddenly have access to a very large global community which gives you feedback, helps you. Like I know people from India, from Turkey, who are not native in English,
Mhm.
and when they have posted work, community
Yeah.
has helped them write the whole copy. Like this is how
Oh,
your story is. This is how your copy should be. It's pretty massive.
wow. So let's, for a minute, just change the situation to investors, not the artists, but the investors. So, considering that this market is so volatile, it just keeps changing, and it's always is in the news for crashing, more often than bubbling up.
Yeah.
So how does somebody who's wanting to invest in it feel anything secure? And even for the artist, like, I mean, finally the artist is also banking upon this community and this thing, but it's so shaky, it just crashes and it just looks like it's over, and it's over for now 6, 7, 8 months. I mean, if experts was to be believed, who knows? But how would anybody new make a decision to be in this space if the kind of falls is all that we get to hear about?
Sure. So I think this is not just true for crypto, but this is generally true for any asset class. So India, if you go back to 2003, 2004, was very similar to when you had small caps and mid caps being invested in. They exactly behaved in this manner. On one day, they would
Mm,
be 30% up. The next day, they could be 20% down, and people made money around that. So any asset
yeah.
class which is new, I think will have challenges. And my only suggestion is that if you are a retail investor or if you're a professional investor who does not have time to understand the space,
Mm,
stick to basics. Just stick to a couple of coins, Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's it. There's nothing else you should think about
mm,
because these are fundamental layers. Like if these don't exist, pretty much you can assume that whole crypto ecosystem won't exist. Everything happens on either Bitcoin is as the default store of value, or
mm,
Ethereum as the default chain on which a lot of things are getting built.
right.
So I would say you should just ignore all the noise of when markets are going crazy and everything is going 100% up in a day, or as of now, like everything is crashing. You should
Mm,
just stick to Bitcoin and Ethereum. And whenever your NFT sales happen, typically you will get paid in Ethereum.
mhm,
So it's always a good idea to kind of say that, let's say I earn one Ethereum, which is $1,800 today. You can sell zero point 0.2, zero point 0.3 Ethereum to keep some dollar balances, which then can help you manage. Like then it's dollar, then it's fiat
right.
currency, right? You don't have to bother about that, and the
Yeah.
rest you could keep. So it's like very basics financials. I don't think uh, most people should avoid. I would say doing any complicated stuff. Just like
Mm,
be very basic, very simple. We are still so early that these things, if done well, will compound massively over a very like this is a decade play. This is not
mm,
a play in which you want to do this for a year or 2 years. I think most people who want to think in that terms will for sure not make any money.
mm,
I can pretty much guarantee that. Um, but anyone who thinks really long should be
mhm.
able to do really well and just stick to Bitcoin, Ethereum. That's it. If you're an investor, don't bother about anything else. I mean, you can, but then you have to put a lot of
That's
time.
a risk. That's a different
Yeah,
type of a risk.
yeah. I mean, see, the worst risk is when you have half knowledge.
Yeah,
When you invest
true.
when you have half knowledge, that is the worst risk you take, and that is nobody else's fault. That's your fault.
Mm,
Like you didn't study well enough to understand what is happening, and then you took a risk. So
yeah,
I think just be simple. It's like equity. When nothing happens, just invest in in Nifty or BSC,
yeah.
and just
Just the
and
basics,
just the
classics.
basic
Yeah.
classics. Stick to simple stuff. Don't do anything else, and that should really be very helpful.
Right. So, I mean, like any market, any evolving market, there will be ups and downs. But as long as you're holding on to the credible sources
Yeah.
and the credible fundamental things, it's not going to be fully downward a curve. It's going to pick it up, and then by the time we would have learned better of how to swim through and what survives in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you will have up and down, and you should keep looking like the basics. Like when it
Mm,
goes up, book some profit, keep so that you always have some dollar balances, which helps you for other things. Helps you out, take a holiday, do whatever stuff you want to do, and then or you can reinvest when it goes down. So just very basic stuff. Uh, just stick to
yeah.
simple basics.
Right. So, I mean, like in Malhar, in the NFT ticket, what we have given it out there is apart from the several other things that you said, that it would be a discount to our token, that's going to come up in some time. So
Yeah,
that's a promise that's being put out there. Right now one doesn't know what's the value of a token or what is it going to be, but it's a promise that we're committing to our initial people, our initial community, that let's build this together. And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
one, it's not one way or the other, it's together, right? So
yeah,
if a community is there, we have more reasons to exist, we have more
yeah,
reasons to deliver on what we're doing.
yeah,
And so if we deliver, then of course the value of the token increases, right? So
yeah.
initially it might just sound like, oh, this is new, but that's how it pretty much that's how even Bitcoin and Ethereum has been. It's not been the wonder boy from day one. It's built up, and it has stuck to its promises, I guess. So just
Yeah,
sticking to that.
and we are still very early. I think in the whole space is, I would say Bitcoin is 2012, so it's not even a
Mm,
decade, and
yeah,
fiats have existed for centuries.
forever.
So NFTs are 1.5 years old, 2 years old. DeFi is 1.5 years old. I think it's still very, very early in this whole play.
Mm. Great. So we have a question from an audience. How do you think the Indian government is going to adapt with the changing laws every few months when it comes to the blockchain market and creator community?
Uh,
Mm.
that's a
Oops.
tricky one. Yeah, Um, I think Indian government is, to my views, is in a slight kind of predicament, because on one side, government understands and appreciates that this is a change which they have to embrace.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I think the RBI's views is not incorrect, that we still have we are a nation which is short on dollars, and we have enough import pressures constantly from oil or other raw materials which can do harm to us.
Hmm.
So I think, but my view is that eventually I think they will reach a balanced state. I think they will realize that. I mean, they're already talking about CBDC to come out.
Yeah.
So I think I'm not worried about whether RBI or government will actually not solve this. I'm pretty sure in certain period of time they will be able to solve or build a framework. I think most people in crypto space are generally worried that we hope that the regulations are clear so that there is no policing involved. Like, I think the last thing which we want is that there is tax policing or there's some other kind of
Mm.
policing around
Yeah.
that, because fundamentally everything is on chain, so there's no way to hide anything. Like,
Yeah.
that's the other part. Like, if I have something and if I
Yeah.
transfer to even if my another wallet which is not on any exchange, it's the information is on chain. They can just
Mm.
tag me and figure out where all my wealth is or where all my assets are and whatever is the law. So I think most people in crypto are generally very okay to pay taxes. I think I've,
Mm.
but they are just generally afraid of if there is any policing involved.
Mm.
Uh, but I'm hoping that sooner than later this will get solved. So yeah,
And I remember an interesting conversation I had with an artist, that the reason that they're interested in filing the taxes and pay like a higher percentage there is because this whole structure has given them another revenue source which
yeah,
wasn't existent earlier, right?
yeah,
So like
yeah,
it might not be the volume that at which that you're earning, but it's a channel of earning that has gotten created. It's heavily taxed, that's okay. But if this whole thing did not exist, then even your revenue in the first place that is coming now wasn't existing. So
yeah,
we have to look at what's the bargain. So that artist said that I am not in the space of beggars are not choosers, but I am in the space of I got to build on what I get, and then I'll talk about what cost did I pay for it. This is not the time for me to think about the cost. And I thought that was very,
yeah,
very
perfect.
brilliant for
Yeah,
that person to say that,
yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I agree
right?
completely.
Hmm. And so, like in the Indian context, while a creator is a creator, doesn't matter which geography they're from, but considering the regulations and the early stages of government understanding this that we are, uh, a creator from India may feel a lot of disadvantage, at just being Indian, while being creator, but just being Indian, right? This would, do you think this also creates competition and a disproportionate advantage going to the artists who are outside of India?
Not really. I think most countries today are still struggling with this. So I don't think
Mm,
including US or anywhere else, has a very clear crypto regulation.
Mm.
If you're a really large artist or a large fund, then of course you have the ability to set up your entity in one of the
Yeah.
more I would say economies or countries where crypto is legalized or in some form of way is legalized. You can do that, but that
Mhm.
happens at a very large scale.
Right.
But otherwise, I think pretty much all countries are in a flux. There is no single clear regulation saying that what should be the tax structure, whether NFTs are commodity or an equity.
Mm.
There are just or is Bitcoin a currency or an asset?
Mm.
So there are very basic fundamental questions which I think governments across world are grappling. So I
Yeah.
don't think there's a disadvantage in that sense. I think pretty much everyone should be the same page.
That's a relief to know. That's been on a lot of people's minds, saying that, it's a lot of work to do. This is something that I've heard very often in the last 2 3 months, saying that it's like going back to school, learning something all over again, something that we probably it's not in our DNA, and then what do you learn it from? The market is so unstable, everything is so unclear. The laws and the taxes are not clear there, like they're not clear here either. So there's been, like, understandably there has been this buzz, but what I hear from you is that it's the same everywhere. So it's like a few percentages here and there, but when other people are creating and leveraging the framework in other parts of the world, so could we. It's the same options available to everybody.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think yeah, I mean, like I said, this is not a transition from digital art to you. This is a
Mm.
new movement. So I think you need to learn. All of us, and I, all of us can constantly learn about this space. And yeah, it's not like, and yeah, it's a risky space. There are many ways for you to get scammed, drugged, lose capital, stuff like that happens. But um, you just have to kind of believe that this is where things are moving, and you should be part of this play.
Mm. So I know we've gone a little over time, but there is just so much to engage with that is just flowing in. My last question for today, before we call you again or for another talk, why are so many people anonymous on these communities? Like, there are, like, so many people who don't have a handle, who don't give out their names. Like, anonymous is a common tag. So for the rest of the people who are still outside and looking at it, that creates a sense of mistrust, that who is this person? Why isn't there a name to it? What would you say to that?
See, I think this is again very similar to vibe thing. Like,
Mm,
so people say that what's in a name, you can like Punk 6529.
mm,
You can just Google his address on blockchain. He has a ENS name punk6529.e and see whatever money he has or NFTs he has in their wallet. Or you can do
mm,
you can just do sawshine.eth and figure out whatever collecting. And so it's not, so your trust is actually much more magnified because
mm,
every information is out there. I cannot have a profile pic of a NFT which I don't own because people can just
mm.
go and check and verify that hey, this dude actually does not own this stuff. So, so I
Right.
think anonymous is just a vibe. I think it's just like people enjoy talking in that language, and everyone is
Mm.
just it's just a lot of fun to play around with your names, be anonymous, do some random stuff, uh, and but yeah, people trust because everything is on information is on chain.
is
You can
is
just
transparent.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, just go to OpenSea.io / put that wallet's name, and you will
Yeah.
see whatever their collection is on OpenSea, like on their wallet. So you can just see everything there. So it's
Yeah,
actually
which,
super trusty.
which is never possible. Even when you read the
Exactly.
name Sonia, you don't get anything known about me, of who I
Yeah.
am, what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. So my acts actually speak. Like either I am
Yeah.
whatever I have said is on Twitter or on Discord,
Hmm.
or and whatever I have collected is in my wallets, which anyone can see to see that whether this is right
This
or I
is
mean,
this
well,
is
yeah.
awesome. Another world altogether.
Okay.
And yeah. So guys, for everybody who's obviously listening to this conversation, joined in a little later. We have been talking about the crypto world, We've been talking about blockchain as a technology, and especially focused into what are the benefits of it for creators. And what clearly came out in the conversation is that of course there are benefits because the framework is like that, but it may not be for everybody. So everybody has to really go deep dive, look at what it is offering, and a way of being. It's a way of life. It's a completely different way of life. So we each of us have to see whether we vibe with that way of life or not. And if so, then of course there are, like, by now, millions of people across the world who are transacting, investing, creating, and so we trust them, and so we see that they have caught on to some values that the other that's available to pretty much you and me and everybody as much, but we'll have to deep dive into it.
Yeah,
Lovely. So, I mean, that's like a lot of work, but very exciting again. And of course, very willing to do that work, because whatever has been the comfort zone has issues, has bigger issues, you know.
yeah,
Like, I mean, on Match My Talent, we have a very large community, all performing artists, you know, but it's so difficult for us to have them put up their original work onto their profile, you know,
yeah,
the basics. You know, if you don't have your original work, what are you putting out there? What are people going to come to you by? But it's such an insecure world that even if you created that original, you can't put that because the stakes are too high, right? And we've lived like this, guys. We have
yeah,
lived like this forever and ever, and now it's probably a time and a method to change that.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Awesome. Great. So with that, thank you everybody who's joining. The Q&As are going to be open. You can always WhatsApp us. The numbers have been all across, and they're right here on our screen right now. Please take a screenshot. You can, anytime you want to, get in touch with Saurabh, ask a question. Of course, he's there on the Twitter. Go find him, if you can. But
Is the same handle? Is the same handle? Shawshank, just there's an underscore. So Shawshank and underscore. That's pretty much my handle. And my DMs are open. So if anyone is interested, just DM me. Very happy to
yeah.
help.
Yeah, no, he's extremely happy to help. I can vouch for that. We reached one day we had reached out to him, you know, absolutely as strangers, and he's been giving us so much of his time that it feels rare. It definitely feels rare for somebody to be contributing. But like you said, everybody does that. So
Yeah.
so let's get more informed. Let's get more equipped with the right information, and find our own journeys out there.
Awesome.
So, Malhar community, that's the beginning of this conversation for you. Reach out to all of us as you may want to, and we will announce the next topic that we have, going deeper. So now it's time. We've touched about some fundamentals. We'll go deeper in our next conversations. And so stay tuned and stay connected. Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Nepal.
much.
Super fun talking again. So cheers. See you around.
Absolutely. And I've learned so much all over again. And I haven't put my 16 hours, very honestly.
I told you.
But yeah, it's very difficult, but
Yeah.
it's being closer.
Yeah. That's
It's
nice.
getting more and more addictive. That's for
Nice.
sure.
Right. That's for sure. That's the right. Then that's the right signal for sure.
Good. Awesome. Thank you. See you. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.
Take
Take
care.
care.
Bye bye.
Bye.